Hello, our listeners. Today we have Imdat Oner. Imdat Oner served as a diplomat in Foreign Service of Turkey, and he worked for 2 years in the Embassy of Turkey in Caracas, Venezuela, as a political officer between 2014 and 2016. He has been contributing to Ahval, and he has been discussing about the crisis of Venezuela. Today, we have him as a guest to talk about Turkey, Venezuela, and Venezuela affairs. Welcome to the program, Imdat Bey.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so please tell us why Turkish President Erdogan cares so much about Maduro regime.
Yeah, this is the most frequent question that I received recently. Everybody is questioning really what's going on between Turkey and Venezuela, especially after the failed coup attempt in Turkey in 2016. We have witnessed such a big unprecedented rapprochement between the South American country Venezuela and Turkey, because before these rapprochement, these two countries never witnessed such a growing cooperation and deepening ties. As we see, this economic and political ties between Ankara and Caracas grown stronger and stronger. And Maduro recently visited 4 times Turkey since 2016, and Erdogan, in response, paid a visit last December. What we have seen in this relation, I think the close personal relation between Maduro and Erdogan is one of the main drivers behind this recent rapprochement, because Erdogan and Maduro have some common features, some personal characteristics. Those two leaders are called as strong men and mostly authoritarian, and they pay more attention to stay in power with any cost, and they undermine the freedoms, they undermine the democratic institutions, and they always want to be in power. And this, in these two countries, we also see the existence of the victim narrative. These two countries always threatened and disrespected by the West and the Western powers like the United States or European Union. And these two countries faced a serious accusation by these powers again, like the human rights violation, democratic backsliding, and authoritarianism. Against these narratives, against these, let's say, the criticism by the Western powers, these two countries have seen a common threat, a common perception. And again, after the coup attempt in Turkey, we have seen this narrative that US-backed coup attempt, and also in the same manner, we also witnessed the recent crisis in Venezuela was called and renamed as the coup backed by the United States.
Yes, let me jump in here. Turkish, right now or recently, there are 1 or 2 Turkish reporters, and one of them actually also interviewed President Maduro. According to these reports, and many of the Turkish media reports right now, when I say Turkish media, it's mostly pro-government media, it is exactly being depicted as you suggested. There is a coup there, and Americans are trying to overthrow Maduro regime, but Maduro regime came out of the ballot boxes. So there are a lot of parallels being drawn between July 15 coup attempt in Turkey and what's happening in Venezuela right now. Let me put it 2 questions. One of them, about this gold trade. Why Turkey is in gold trade with Venezuela? As we understand, there is about $1 billion gold trade in 2018. What does it mean for Maduro or for this relationship? And second, why do you think Turks, pro-government Turkish media and this government in Turkey want to believe there's a coup in Venezuela and Mr. Erdogan has to intervene in this crisis and protect Venezuelan regime against the Trump administration?
Yeah. Let me start with the second question, if you wish. There is too much misinformation and simplification of this recent events in Venezuela, the recent crisis. Some people are just claiming that this is a U.S. coup and they support opposition, and opposition is just staging a coup against the elected government, Maduro government. But I guess this is a sui generis situation in international law and also international politics. We haven't seen such a big crisis recently. As you know, Maduro was just inaugurated for his second term on 10th of January after winning an election that he held in last May. But the opposition chose to boycott this election because the opposition is claiming that this was not a free and fair election, and Maduro just systematically eliminated all democratic institutions and also the elections. And also the Supreme Court, as well as the National Electoral Council, they also strengthened the hand of Maduro, and they undermined any action and any ruling of the opposition party or National Assembly against Maduro. Under these unfavorable condition, the opposition they came together and they decided to move, and they created a concerted effort, not just inside the country, but also some regional actors, the Lima Group, the Organization of American States, and also the United States. After all these issues, the president of National Assembly, Guaido, assumed the interim presidency. Many people is saying that he is the opposition leader, but he is not just opposition leader, but also he is the president of National Assembly, and he's assuming this job, this presidency, in accordance with the Constituent National Assembly written by 1999. Written in the Constitution, the 1999 Constitution. It says that one of its articles is claiming that under such a situation, when there is no president, a legitimate president, the president of National Assembly may assume the interim president and hold the election, free and fair election, in 30 days. Therefore, for opposition, there is a stand that they provide a reasonable argument that they act according to the Constitution rather than any other measure imposed by the international actors or the imperial actors that some calls as like that. And therefore, this is just an internal efforts by the opposition party, by the National Assembly. And then the regional actors joined to this effort, and they supported the National Assembly. And also, we should also consider this issue. Just before the Maduro's inauguration, since the May 20th, these members of Lima Group are claiming that they will never accept this, they will never recognize these elections. They repeatedly say that. And also, Organization of American States issued a number of declarations claiming that Maduro will not be recognized as the legitimate leader. I mean, this crisis did not just erupt in 10th of January or the 23rd of January, but since last May, these scenarios were on the table, and everybody was saying that Maduro will not be recognized as legitimate leader. And therefore, I cannot give credit for this claim of coup attempt backed by the United States or any other actor. But I see it, as I also mentioned in my article that published in Ahval, that this is not a coup attempt, but this is the will of the Venezuelan people. This is the will of the National Assembly, elected in a free and fair election in a democratic way.
Thank you for that. And how about this gold trade? Why Maduro regime doesn't send its gold and get whatever food they need from Latin America, but he gets in this business with Turkey?
Yeah, the following this improved relation between Turkey and Venezuela, we see that Maduro decided to move the gold trade, the gold refining from Switzerland to Turkey, because he was afraid of facing an isolation and a sanction from the Western powers, especially from the United States. And against this backdrop, Venezuela exported nearly $1 billion gold to Turkey. But this transaction has some serious issues, as I already mentioned before in my papers and in my articles, that the lack of transparency in both sides is really critical and is raising the eyebrows. What's going on, really? Why it is not so transparent? And also, the Venezuelan institutions or Venezuelan authorities claim that these gold will be refined and then return back to Venezuela, but we haven't seen such a mechanism never return back to Venezuela. And also, recently we have realized that Turkey became the main supplier of the club, the Venezuelan state-led food program. And Turkey is now supplying nearly 70% of the gold, the food program. And then some raise this possibility that Venezuela is sending gold to Turkey in exchange of food supplying or any other good supplying, or it's kind of turning gold into liquidity in a third countries. But these are all possibilities. We cannot verify or confirm any of these, let's say, the argument, because we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough data, just because of the lack of transparency. And this issue is confronted by the United States, and some officials claim that there is something going wrong in this gold trade, and Turkey received the gold, and then Turkey sent some food boxes to Venezuela. But these officials also pointed out the corruption side of this the trade, and also we know that today's Venezuela situation. Any country who wants to make business with Maduro government should be ready to pay any bribe, or should be ready to be involved in any corruption case. Hello?
Okay, sorry, I was muted and I was talking.
Sorry.
I forgot to unmute. Okay, well, thank you so much for this detailed and very comprehensive comments. There is this very much disinformation campaign out there, especially on the Turkish media side, but in many different areas as well. Imdat Oner, who work in Venezuela in very recent times, between 2014 and 2016, and who speaks the language and who's doing his PhD in Florida International University. Today here to explain why Mr. Erdogan is so close to Mr. Maduro. And let me ask this and finish the conversation. How do you think this is going to end? Do you think Mr. Erdogan is going to be able to save Mr. Maduro?
Yeah, this is also another question that people are asking. If Turkey can turn into a safe haven or a refugee camp for Maduro or not, or Maduro allies. This is a possibility. Maybe Turkey welcome Maduro after a transition in the country. And also this crisis will not be ended soon, I guess, because we have a consolidated regime in the country more than 20 years, almost 20 years, starting with the Chavez, and all the institutions have been totally eliminated and totally changed by the regime. And the internal allies of Maduro, the army is still behind Maduro. And I think the only change will happen in Venezuela within the country rather than the force of outside external powers. I think a change in the army position or a fraction or a split within the Venezuelan regime, the Maduro regime, will bring a change to the country, I guess.
Okay, thank you so much again, and I hope to talk to you soon as the crisis appears to be still unfolding, and we'll see how things are going to turn out. Thanks so much for coming on today, Imdat Oner.
Thanks for giving this chance to me.